Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. This is part 2 of the Switch Pro install. I've done a couple of things already, things that are pretty simple, so I'll catch you guys up. I did run the wiring harness down through the firewall, and that is done by going right through where that bundle goes through. You can see the green mark there, and then the bundle, or the harness rather, right beside that thin cable goes through and then pops through right on the inside. You guys can see it right here, hopefully. Where is it? Right here. And it pops through. You'll notice right up there, ignore my garage door openers, that was another project. But you'll see that carpet that's kind of pulled up a little bit. It is a slit there, so you can get right through. No problem, really. I actually slit it from the inside with an X-Acto knife, just so I had a slit to go through. Otherwise, you're going to be poking through. Next up, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and do the switches on the panel here. Now, the panel that is actually to replace the OEM panel comes from Cali Raised or Miso Customs, and it is the panel right here. I've gone ahead and mounted the Switch Pro panel here, the control panel. It just goes on with 4 little studs that you screw into the panel itself, and then you bolt it down with some locking washers. I did put Loctite on the other side where these studs go into the control panel. Make sure when you tighten these down, you don't get on it because you will pull the studs through. I kind of did it on one. You just want to snug it. You don't really want to get on it. Now, as far as switching the switches, this is the OEM panel, and you can ignore the red and the black. Those are my homemade home links. There's videos on the channel how I do that, by the way, but yours will be blank unless you have other accessories in there. Now, a couple things I want to note. First of all, to get this switch out, which I've already done, if you look on the back, it has these little nubs, one on each side, one there and then one back there. You kind of have to pry a little bit with a screwdriver on the back of the OEM piece to get those out. They don't simply pull just out, nor do they have any little flanges or whatever that you can push down to release them. So you kind of have to wedge up a little bit on this to get them out. Otherwise, it comes out pretty easy and fit really well inside the Miso Customs replacement part. You'll notice this is the configuration on mine, and this is the configuration on the Miso Customs version. I have a longer blank. It's actually just a blank here, whereas the Miso Customs I got does not have the longer blank. So to pull these out, it's pretty simple. They just squeeze on the back. There's these little squeeze areas here you can see. You just squeeze those together, pull them out, and then stick them in from the front down in the hole. Okay, I am going to reconfigure the panel a little bit. And by the way, the cables are long enough to reach anywhere on here, so it should be fine. I'm actually going to put I believe, the traction controller, which is this one. I think I'm going to put that up here in the corner because honestly, that's one that I'll not use frequently. And then I'm going to put the auto light thing over here. That would be this one. And then my 2 switches are going to be next to each other here and here for ease for me to be able to locate them when I want to use them. I've got it all loaded. Fortunately, the blanks, which I'm using for home link type stuff, did fit in there easier than the OEM switches did, but that's what it looks like. Love it. I love the setup. So now I need to rehook up my home link stuff, and then we're going to go ahead and stick this back in, plug all the connections back in. By the way, the connections only fit in one of each slot, so it's pretty simple to do. Okay, I've got everything all plugged back in, as you can see, including the wiring for my home link system. And I ran into a roadblock, and I've seen this happen with a few other folks, and that is this piece right here will not allow this plug that I've put in, or really any of the other ones. I suppose maybe if I'd have put a shallower one in, it would have been okay. But if you put the longer plug in up top, which is obviously what I've done, it doesn't fit. This is in the way, and it may actually be in the way over here as well. As far as these prongs go, I'm not quite sure yet. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. So I've got to do a little bit of trimming in order to put this plug where I want it to be, which isn't a big deal. I think I can cut just right along this edge here and then across here, and I should be okay. And it doesn't look like that really has any function anyway. All right, I did get it in. You guys can see it is a nice OEM looking finish. Gotta say, I am not happy with the journey, but I am very pleased with the end result, I guess. I did end up trimming more off of the edge over there, that plastic piece behind, because this button was still hitting. Again, if you'd have put one of these others up there, maybe there wouldn't have been an issue. I don't know, but it's in there now. It looks good. Next up is finally to move on to the wiring for the Switch Pro itself. Now, you saw I did plug in the harness. I do need to run that blue wire. It's a trigger wire to go into the, to splice into the ignition right down there. And then we'll have a white wire left that you're supposed to put on some sort of I guess a side marker wire or something like that. I'll have to figure that out. But for now, I need to mount the Switch Pro. So we'll do that next, and then I'll also run that blue wire you can see right there through. The pink wire we're not going to use. Supposedly it's another type of trigger wire, and the way I understand it, to be used with Bluetooth or something. I don't know. We're not going to use that. It's just going to be underneath the tray all wrapped up. Okay, I have the blue wire now run through the firewall, through the same hole as the control wire, I guess. You can see it laying right there. And I've pulled the coverings here up there and up here because we're going to splice the blue wire into an ignition wire right up there. That will be coming up very soon. As far as the tray itself, it is mounted. I will say, and I have heard this before, this bolt, the closest one to the front, it's kind of a bear to get in. Do yourself a favor, put a piece of tape over that slot right there so that when you drop it 10 times, like I did, you don't have to dig around down below trying to find it. The bracket on the side, it's actually right there, that stabilizes the tray, and it is stable. Not too bad. You kind of have to reach down in here. It's a 10 millimeter bolt. It's not too difficult, honestly. It's tight quarters, but as long as you have the bracket lined up, it works pretty well. So next up, we're going to go ahead and connect the blue trigger wire and the white dimmer wire. And the purpose of the white wire is to dim the switch when your lights are on so that it doesn't blind you. That's going to hook in somewhat right down here. And then we'll be able to hook the power up and plug in the control wires, if you will, that run to the unit inside the truck, and then we'll be ready to test it.